Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? A very rainy, drenched day here in New York. I have my little Morgan co-host right over there. Cold, rainy. Before that, make sure you hit the like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure if my content resonates with you, there's other people out there that you think might resonate with it, share it so that they can become a part of the conversation, a part of the community of like-minded people and people newly awakening. Very important. It's not just me, it's all of us. We need to spread the love and the light and truth. There's a little bit of a delay on my Zoom. I don't know if that's due to the weather, but it'll work. Today's book, Melchizedek, or the Secret Doctrine of the Bible. This was copywritten in 1919, the version that I have here. So I'm going to read the introduction. Get ready. The Bible has been regarded as a sealed book, its mysteries impenetrable, its knowledge unfathomable, its key lost. Even its miracles have been so excluded from scientific research as to be invested with a supernaturalism which forever separated them from the possibility of human understanding and rational interpretation. In the midst of these revolutionary times, it is not strange that theology and institutional Christianity should feel the foundations of their authority slipping from them, and a new, broader, and more spiritual thought of man and God taking their places. All this is a part of the general awakening of mankind. Happening now. Another reason why I'm reading this book. And has not come about in a day or a year. It grew. It is still growing because the soul is eternal and justifies and vindicates its own unfoldment. Yep. Some see in this new birth of man the annihilation of church and state, but others who are more informed and illuminated realize that the chaff and dross of error are being separated from the wheat and gold of truth, and that the best and that which is for the highest good of mankind will remain. It is a pity that the church must continually perish, that the truth shall shine in imperfect eternal splendor. Would that the church could let the light of divine truth so shine that creeds, theologies, and ritual might be revised to meet the present and progressive needs of the human soul. Religion does not depend for its existence upon the church, for the church depends upon religion. The moral and spiritual teachings of the Bible are revelations only in so far as they agree with truth. And truth alone determines the spiritual substance of revelation. The church will not wholly pass away. What will and must die in all ecclesiastical institutions is that which limits man's freedom to know the truth. The Bible, no less than other books on religion and science, must stand the test of time. Its supreme importance to man is not its literature or history, but its revelation. All revelation is from within the soul. It is mixed and fused with extraneous alien matter. It opens one page while it closes another. No Simon pure revelation of truth has ever been given to the world. It must touch the sphere of human intelligence to be perceived and received, and through the purest channel it is tinctured by personality. It must be adapted to the needs of the generations to which it is sent. It is presented in symbols, allegories, parables, and myths. Its doctrines are comparative as well as absolute. In the one, the letter killeth. In the other, the spirit given life. Jesus approved of the confirmed what is here said when he told his disciples that, quote, the spirit of truth will lead you into all truth until you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, end quote. But, quote, what is truth? End quote. Asked Philate, and the question repeats itself to every honest soul. It is never simple because it is many-sided. Its facets are infinite. At best, we can speak of the truth about this or that doctrine of religion, philosophy, and science, but the truth, like mathematics, is self-contained and sustained, infinite, and eternal. Facts are appearances of the working of the law of nature and spiritual causality. Religion and church, in the universal sense, deal with these spiritual facts, which are their credentials and on which they build their technique and teaching of human and divine service. Without them, religion as well as the church would be without the witness. The supreme purpose and aim of the witness is not to extract it out of all relationships with the other credentials and material facts of life, but to reveal the spirit of life, which has no other means at hand to prove its transcendent and independent reality, except to show that whereas the material phenomena of life appear to spring up from potential matter as a fact of life, both are traced back to within spirit. This is supreme revelation of Jesus when he affirmed, quote, I am the resurrection and the life, end quote. The Bible as well as the soul reveal clearly 4 specific strata or spheres of human unfoldment. First, the historical. Second, the occult. Third, the astrotheological, the law. Fourth, the mystical. The later is demonstrated by the statements of Jesus, quote, I and the Father are one, end quote. And, quote, I am in the Father and the Father is in me, end quote. The first, or historical, is plain to everyone. The occult is that which is involved in mysteries, such as hidden wisdom, concealed in parables, myths, symbols, allegories, dreams, visions, prophecies, signs, miracles, the gnosis, lost word, canon, Kabbalah, with which the Bible abounds, but which must be penetrated before the object of the Bible as revelation is understood. This, the quote, thus saith the Lord, end quote, or the working of the law as typified by the astrotheological sphere makes clear, quote, God geometricizes, end quote, wrote Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Pythagoras, an ancient Greek philosopher, had inscribed on the portal of his temple, quote, let no one enter here who is ignorant of geometry, end quote. Quote, there is, end quote, said the author Proverbs, a time and a place for everything under the sun. And Jesus emphasized the same truth when he added, quote, every hair of your head is numbered, end quote. This briefly signifies that law governs life and that law is of spirit, that, quote, action and reaction are equal, that whatsoever a man sows, that will he also reap, end quote. And the underneath the operations of natural phenomena, effects and results, is the law of spirit, revealing its absolute and eternal majesty and sovereignty in each form of cell, corpuscle, and organism. I hope your minds are already blown, because this genius, pure genius. History manifests what the law occultly reveals. The object of this book is to hint and reveal, so far as it is practical, the secret doctrine of the Bible, that we may no longer grope in darkness or blindness, and that the seamless robe of Christ may be our inheritance. Lecture 1. Who is Melchizedek? Biblical history, his office, his order. All that is known historically of Melchizedek is contained in the Bible in Genesis 4:18, Psalms 110, and Hebrews 5:6-7. The incident which connects him with history is the story of how Abraham, returning to his own country with the spoils captured from, okay, I'm going to butcher this because I was never able to pronounce this properly. So mind the P's and Q's. Dyslexic. The teeth fell out a lot today. Cheldel Lemur. Chelordemur. You guys know what I'm talking about if you read this or have read this. Who is battling Lot, his sons and tribe, and whom Abraham sought to rescue, gave tithes to these superior functionary, Melchizedek, high priest of righteousness and king of Salem, city of peace. It relates how this distinguished priest of the Most High God refreshed Abraham with bread and wine and bestowed upon him his blessing, making him a priest of his own order. Who Melchizedek was is not made clear. Numerous speculations arise as to his identity. He is said to be without birth and death, father, mother, and descent. As such, his existence is involved in mystery. He is invested with fanciful and mythological conceits. Some, however, trace him back to a father of one branch of the human race, to Shem, others to Noah. The astral mythological connection is even more obscure. He is regarded by certain authorities, Bryant, in analysis of ancient mythology, a Silk or C. Zedek, who is identified with Kronos, Father Time, or Saturn, personifications of planetary principles or gods. In fact, such personifications were not the exception when the mystery of the relationship between heavenly principles or astrological names in early historical characters as Cain, Abel, Noah, Abraham, Moses are considered. For instance, Abram or Abraham could easily be translated in the two derivatives Abe and Ram, or Abram, meaning the right, from the right, ascension meridian. Abe, referring to the father as Abba, is father, and Brahm as Brahma, meaning God. The name of the Hindu deity in the Trinity, which Shiva and Vishnu are the other two, Brahma being the God above every other God, the absolute, eternal, unchanging one. Gerald Massey, in the Book of Beginnings, Natural Genesis, and Egypt of the Light of the World, elaborates the source and connection of Egyptian mythology and ritualistic mysteries with Christolatry, so that biblical history and New Testament facts can be thrushed from the mass of the fictitious, apocalyptical, symbological literature, which the Bible contains, clearly the way for an ideal, metaphysical, and spiritual interpretation of such assumed historical persons as Melchizedek. My co-host. Thus, when Melchizedek is likened to the head of the human race, an angel, the Son of God in human form, the Messiah, the potential representative on earth of the Christ, and finally, the Holy Ghost, the student of the secret doctrine must not be swept off his feet by these claims, but must diligently and patiently inquire how and why such claims have been made, and why the name Melchizedek has lain like gold in the riverbed of biblical literature, over which the river of life itself has long since ceased to flow. It is true that historical persons have frequently been first canonized and then deified, as it is also true that mythological personifications of natural forces, laws, and phenomena have been reduced to human beings. Osiris and Isis, once Egyptian prince and princess, some thousands of years ago, became in due course of time king and queen, and after the lapse of ages, a sun god and a moon god that were actually worshipped in temples dedicated to them. A similar metamorphic change and a deification of this sort is expected to be made of the late Mary Baker Eddy, founder of the Christian Science Church. A secret enmity has already arisen among the Roman Catholics against Christian scientists because they see modern tendencies in the direction and fear that the throne of the Christian divine motherhood now occupied by Mary may be usurped by what may be called, in the terms of the shop, a spiritual competitor. All this sounds strange and uncanny to ears unaccustomed to the wild and audacious claims of supernaturalists and Christian Science metaphysicians, but history often repeats itself. It does. Thus, the language which invests Melchizedek with historic authenticity disguises his real self or divinity. It can be said with much assurance of certainty that Melchizedek symbolically and mystically typifies the personification as well impersonation of the Holy Ghost, which in Genesis for the first time was mentioned in human history and made the representative emblem of man's divine heredity and providence. Thus, the order was formed in spiritual spheres in the mystical sense and transferred to the sublime conscious of man, who was the alleged first enlightened godfather of the Jews, Abraham. From him sprung the prophetic capacity, which is most virile and active among those who are of the order of Melchizedek. The sense of exalted, dignified exclusiveness, separativeness, and august divinity, which clothed that personality of the ancient Jewish prophets, was founded upon spiritual relationship and connection, Abraham mystically with Melchizedek. Worthiness of body and mind, heroic and true, in their consecration to truth, they became the high priests after the order of Melchizedek, through whom was preserved the spirit of the original human vision and spiritual idea of divine perfection, which in process of time, when the old school of major and minor prophets had closed their books of prophecy, the human realization and divine incarnation should come among mankind as the Messiah or Christ. It is not improbable that the divine perfection should lodge potentiality and inactively in the soul of man, until unkindled into a conscious vision by a divine visitation as that of an angel, an avatar, an epiphany, and that enter upon its earthly travail in the womb of woman and the mind of a man, to celebrate the nativity, first in prophetic vision and afterward, when the cosmic and earthly conditions are ripe, to manifest in its perfect human incarnation. All this is hinted at in Genesis, in the mysterious meeting of Melchizedek and Abraham. That's crazy, guys. Lecture 2, The Secret Doctrines of the Order, its myths, mysteries, symbolisms, canons, and philosophy. It is a well-known fact that there was and still is a secret doctrine, known to the ancient and ignored by the modern world, although glimpsed by certain God-conscious and illuminated souls as prophets or seers and great radical teachers, that this doctrine was hinted at by Paul in his references in the Hebrews to the order Melchizedek. In a unique book printed in London, 1897, and entitled The Canon, with an introduction by R.B.C. Graham, much is written about the pagan mystery perpetuated in the Kabbalah as a rule of all the arts. The supernal atom of the spirit or heavenly world became the earthly atom, since the earth, to quote the Canon, quote, was philosophically considered to be the mother or receptive power in the planetary system. She was figuratively said to have conceived and brought forth the primeval man, the earth-born Adam, the son of the supernal Adam. Thus, according to the Hebrews, the face of mortals was produced, and the spirit of life, having been implanted in the body of the first man, he transmitted it through Eve to all subsequent generations, end quote. This sounds vague, indefinite, unscientific, as it is to an evolutionist who does not accept as simple, allegorical, an explanation of the origin of life or man on this planet. Such a solution, however, is by the traditionalists, animists, Kabbalists, and advocates of the secret doctrine treated as a myth, not as a historical fact. The secret of human origin and birth being withheld from and concealed in the parabolical language. Nor has modern science so far furnished the key either to unlock the mystery or to explain the myth. The word involution will help the student to understand the natural progress known as evolution, the ascending R of life, which word involution psychical investigators now throwing light upon as clearing up the false claims. First of the theologians as to supernatural human origin, rather than a supernormal or divine, and secondly, of physical scientists who deny that man is a human soul and his origin or hereditary is from God. Thus, by the denial outlawing all other and spiritual evidences, which is included in and affirmed and confirmed by the spiritual hypothesis. Bergenson, in Matter and Memory, boldly claims that spirit has an existence of its own, that there is in matter something more than, but something different from, that which is actually given. The truth is, there is one and only one method of refuting materialism. It is to show that matter is precisely that which it appears to be. Thereby we eliminate all virtuality, all hidden power from matter, and establish the phenomena of spirit as an independent reality. But to do this, we must leave to matter those qualities which materialists and spiritualists alike strip from it. The latter, that they may make of them representations of spirit, the former, that they may regard them only as the accidental garb of space, end quote. It's very interesting. Thus, Bergenson defends the soul or spirit as an entity quite apart from matter and the material world with which it is associated. However, in the mysterious language of Plato, the soul in its natural pilgrimage through life exists in three distinct forms under diverse conditions. The human germ first exists in the body of man, who is the father. In the act of coition, it is transferred to the woman, who is the mother. And in the third form, it is born into the world, an independent human body, and as man or woman, it remains until death. The first residence of the psychic germ is referred to Hebrews 7, 9 through 10, quote, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham, for he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him, end quote. The transition from the first residence to the second marks the soul's first death and birth. This is the symbolized by the phoenix, rising again after disintegration and dissolution. The phoenix was a sacred Egyptian and Greek mythological bird, like an eagle, fabled as coming out of Arabia every 500 years to Heliopolis, Egypt, the city of the sun, where it burnt itself on the altar and rose again from its ashes, young and beautiful. It became a perpetual type of immortality and the resurrection. Of course, the bird and the story is a myth, containing the ancient secret doctrine of the immortality of soul, as manifested in human existence, growth, and evolution. The second stage of the soul's existence is when it reaches as a germ the womb of the woman, the abode of darkness, Sheol or Hades of the Jews and Greeks. And in the third stage, as it issues from the womb, it has a substantial physical body and so begins its life as a man. In this body, the soul was by the ancient teachers conceived as a spark of the divine essence of God, and so thus endowed with divinity, was capable of transmitting a portion of the soul within him, and being essentially immortal, added a new link in the continuous chain of life, whose beginning was in heaven, Salem, the city of peace. This briefly was what is known as the gnosis, or spirit doctrine of the soul's birth, existence, and destiny, as taught in the scriptures and imparted to initiates at the celebration of mysteries. Origen wrote, quote, we hope after the troubles and struggles which we suffer here to reach the highest heaven and receiving agreeably to the teachings of Jesus, the fountains of water that spring up into eternal life and being, filled with the rivers of knowledge, shall be united with those waters that are said to be above the heavens, and which praise his name. As many of us as praise him shall not be carried about by the revolution of the heaven, reincarnation, but shall ever be engaged in the contemplation of the invisible things, end quote. This was the meaning of the Egyptian, Jewish, and Greek mysteries, tracing all souls back thread by thread from son to father, culminating in the earth-born Adam, and finally in the upward swing of the arc. After the downward swing of the arc of the circle had been completed, they hoped and believed that when death came, they would ascend by the seven spirits or angels, the planets, into the firmament to join the choir of the stars, whence they issued. Sorry, guys, I'm fixing my teeth. The fall of man, we know, can now be satisfactorily explained, not by the intent or accident of a theological fall, or by a doctrine of total depravity, but by a mystical genosis, scientifically and philosophically explained by the evolution of the soul and matter, or by the four varieties of Buddha, as applied to the soul's human descent and ascent, as typified in the creation and generation of souls in the first Adam by the teaching of Jesus. For it is mystically stated by Paul, quote, as in Adam all die, so in Christ shall all be made alive, end quote. The gnosis or spirit doctrine is the same essentially in all ethnic religions could be cultivated the inner sense of the meaning of parables, symbols, myths, and Kabbalah. The canon of this gnosis, or secret doctrine, was given by word of mouth by master builders and teachers called priests from temples in which they officiated to the initiated, who, according to the customs of times, concealed the teachings and the mysteries, often in contradictory, grotesque, and foolish symbolisms, for which the wise only held the key. Pause. Isn't that everything that I've been saying? Isn't that all that I've been saying in a lot of my videos? Who, according to the customs of time, concealed the teachings and mysteries, often in contradictory, grotesque, foolish symbolism, for which the wise only held the key. Again, the gnosis was hidden away in the architectural plans of certain monuments, as the pyramid and sphinx, and in temples and cathedrals, as Solomon's Temple and the Cathedral of Milan. Homer wove it into the Iliad. Dante incorporated it in his Divine Comedy. Milton in his story of Paradise Lost. Canonical theory and philosophy buried in their secret palimpsests. The epic story of the soul is retold in the 4th chapter of John's Gospel, where Jesus addresses the woman of Samaria. Theology, which was once astrology, became such to conceal the secret doctrine from the worldly, wise, and prudent, for the same reason that alchemy became chemistry and astrology became astronomy. And so the secret doctrine was temporarily lost, at least to those who preferred to receive orders from a Babel of confusion, rather than that from the pillar of fire by night and the cloud of light by day. I'm like a lost for words. This is going to be a journey, like all the other books. How can you apply what I just read to now? Is that a lot of this information is already out there. It's just not widely put out there. And then there is the narrative that, oh, that's satanic because it's from the occult and it's gnosis and da 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 da. Let me just mind thought bubble epiphany. Whoop whoop, light bulb. If in satanic law they have to tell you the truth, they do. They have to tell it to you, but it can be masked in anything. Okay, masked in anything. So question, they're probably telling you the truth in these books if they're so satanic. Seriously. They have to tell you the truth. And a lot of these books weren't put out there for the masses to read. They were hidden in libraries. Yes, they were printed, but they knew that the odd people like me would find them. And what happens to people like me? You're shunned out of society. I've always ticked to my own talk. I have never conformed to society standards. People actually follow my trends. Back in high school, I was pretty alternatively dressed, gothic. And then more people buckled on and like joined my crowd. And I was excited because more people were looking like me and it made me feel accepted. But then, oh, you're the freak, you're this, you're that. Blah, blah. There's a reason why there's like a counteractive narrative that happens, because they don't want you to find the truth. Even though they put it out there, they want you to believe that it's fictitious and it's not all real. But in like all my other books and all my other teachings and sayings that I personally subscribe to, you are a soul with the creator, the son, the spirit, the absolute, the conjoined actor, all of it. You can read go to my Urantia videos. It goes into all the levels. The Keys of Enoch does the same thing. Here's my co-host. It goes into the same thing. There are laws that is abided by. You make an agreement, an arrangement with Creator. You arrange with the soul group that you incarnate in here with. Okay, there's many soul families. There's tribes, your spirit tribe, your animal tribe, your soul family are the people that you came together with to bring you into existence. I so very much believe this because I'm adopted. My adoptive parents were born in 1946. They're both passed on. They made an agreement with my birth mother and father to adopt me. And I was to come in and be moved away from the location that I was at to be where I am now. Mind you, I'm in the middle of fucking hell. Literally, New York is hell. She's attesting to that by rapping on paper. Okay, this is hell. But I came in with this agreement that this would be my own knowing, my last life here in 3D. I am not coming back. I will not come back. No, thank you, kitty cat. I chose to be here, and you all chose to be here. I know my agreement with my parents. I agreed to be here. And when people ask me about the gender of their baby and what's going on, I tell them that the baby goes up and down, in and out of their womb until it finalizes in its stomach between 7, 8, 9 months. And then the baby is born with the soul. So this stuff isn't far-fetched from any other teachings or knowings. And again, this was written in copywritten in 1919. These spiritualists way back then were onto something. They knew, saw, and felt something was off about a lot of things. This is an incredible book, and next time we'll go into lecture 3. I'm excited. So I hope all of you enjoyed it. She is so destructive. Say hi. Oh, and my little Ethan, I had to play Dr. Pimple Popper with him. He has this like big notch on the back of his head. And I didn't know if it was a tumor or not. I didn't suspect so because you can move it. But today he had like a big flap of like skin and, you know, so I was trying to remove it and Dr. Pimple Popper happened. And so it is dermatological. I got some gunk out of him, like a popping of a big boil pimple, but he got really scared, like he was investigating what came out of him. He got really upset and ran, and I probably won't be able to catch him until like he comes back on my lap, which won't be for a few days. Which is not good because I want to clean out. It's not all out, and I want to clean it up at least. But at least I hope I gave him some relief up there. Yeah. Yep. That's, you know, I'm a cat mom. What am I supposed to do? So yeah, I feel kind of relieved that I have a dermatological pimple popping problem with my cat and nothing more than I can't handle right now because I can't handle taking him to the vet. I can't afford it. So I hope you all enjoyed that mini Miss Pimple Popper. And I hope you all enjoyed what I just read. It's interesting. I enjoy these books very much, and I hope you do too. Please spread the word. Please keep commenting, hit that like button, email me. I do respond. Things are a little slow with my internet when it's really bad weather. Things slow up. Sometimes I can't get into my email, but I do get them. So please email me. And I'm working on some other stuff. So hopefully I get to do another one later. Love and light to each and every one of you. Sending you love and light. Spread it through the planet and the world. We're here for a reason, and now it's time to remember why. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.